Okay, now that our chart of accounts is kind of where we want it, I've come back to the home screen right here. And I'm going to get rid of this getting started with QuickBooks piece here. And I'm on a trial, so we're going to see this constantly. I'm using a trial just to teach this class from a fresh QuickBooks file. The next thing we're going to do before we start adding customers or vendors still yet is I want to come over here and connect the bank account. The reason that I do that is if there is already history in your business bank account. Let's say you started doing work a month and a half ago and you've spent some money in the business checking account. Maybe you've even collected money. Before I do anything else, I want to get that information into QuickBooks. So I'm going to connect my bank account here, and it's a Wells Fargo account. And I'm going to load my credentials here. Let me pause the video while I load the credentials. I've entered my credentials and it's loading up the bank accounts. And I have several bank accounts. It's going to give me an option of which ones I want to choose and what kind of information that I want to have come into this account. And we'll use a very simple account here. So I've got a number of different checking accounts here. Let's imagine that my, let's see here. Let's imagine that this account right here is my checking account that I want to use for this company. So let's click here, the little checkbox here on the left. And also, see how it won't let me connect yet? I also need to tell it what kind of an account this is. And this is going to be my checking account. And I'll hit connect. It's going to communicate with the bank here and take a few minutes. And then what it's going to do, it's going to download the history in that account. If the account has been around for more than 3 months, you're going to have a little bit of a problem because this generally only pulls 90 days worth of history. And you may have to go in and enter some things manually. But let's assume we've only been open for a couple of months, and we're just going to download a few transactions and get those into our QuickBooks before we move forward at all. Okay, it says that it has added the information here, so I'm going to say, okay, I'm done, let's go. And now we can see that the bank balance and in QuickBooks, there's some stuff here. One of the things that is a problem, however, is that what's in QuickBooks does not match what's in the bank balance. And if there's one thing that I want anyone watching this to know, if these two things don't match, you've got problems and you need to stop what you're doing and you need to get them to match. I've watched a lot of people doing tutorials on bookkeeping and QuickBooks that have told their viewers, don't worry about this, just move on. And as a CPA, I'm here to tell you, that is not a very good practice, and you are looking for trouble someday if you don't do this right. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to pull up the banking system. And so what this is doing, let me get rid of this here. What this is doing is it's saying, look, you've got $1,305.10 in your bank. We know that, because that is what the bank balance told us, or what the bank told us your bank balance was. However, in QuickBooks, we show a different amount. And the reason they show a different amount is because I've got transactions sitting here that have not been added to the register yet. Let me let that sink in for a second. These transactions are actually not in the register yet. And so what's happened is QuickBooks has pulled in what my bank balance was, let's see, probably before 3/17, and then it said, hey, you need to enter the rest of these transactions for this to balance. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add these transactions and get this thing balanced up. So the first transaction is check 1029. Well, let's imagine that I knew what that was. That was a check that I wrote to J Sample, and that was for, and J Sample's a new name, so I need to hit save here. It's trying to say, hey, you've got this new guy. Who is he? He's a vendor, and I'm going to hit save here. And what does he do? Well, he was legal expense. So I'm going to start typing legal. See how it says legal and professional fees right there? I was paying him to do my incorporation documents, let's say, and I paid him a whole bunch of money. So I'll click add. Once I've entered those two pieces of information, you can enter a memo. That's kind of a note if you want to note something, and I'm going to click add. See what happened here? Now my balance in QuickBooks is $496. So as you add things here, this balance is going to be dynamic. Let's keep going. This is a $3 charge. This is Wells Fargo charging me for this account. So let's come in here, and I'm going to put Wells Fargo. Who's that? New vendor? Yep. Save. And I'm going to put that this was a banking fee. Let's see if I've got bank fee. Yep, I've got bank fee in my chart of accounts. And one of the things that just happened, you kind of saw it flash green right there. What QuickBooks is doing is it's reading this description, online deposit detail. And it also saw it down here, online deposit detail. This is another transaction that happened on 4/8. And look at the little note. We'll set online deposit detail to bank charges from now on. What this is doing is setting up a rule. And this is at the heart of what makes QuickBooks Online so wicked, is these rules will help you do a lot of your work, especially the bookkeeping that goes on electronically or transactions that happen electronically. This is a really great feature. If this was not correct, if you said, oh no, I don't want anytime you see online deposit detail for you to do this, you can come in here to edit this setting. And we'll have another video about banking and bank rules later on, but I do like this. And so watch what happens. I'm going to click add. And see how this turned green again? And it gives you this note. Look what we found. We recognize another transaction that's this Wells Fargo transaction. So I'm going to close this. Anytime I want to see what it's recognized, I can click recognize here, and it shows me this transaction. And as it starts to learn your business, this is going to happen more and more. I'm going to go ahead and click add next to this bank charges one, because I don't need to do anything on this now. Now it's recognized it. I'm going to click add. Good. And now I've got two more transactions. I know that because this says 2 and I can see these 2. I've got another check. Well, let's say this one is to J Sample again. And I need to come over to the expense. But let's say that instead of legal, I was paying Jay this time for management consulting. Whatever he was doing, I want to call it management consulting. And that's not in my chart of accounts. See how right here it says add management consulting? I'm going to click that. And it's going to say, okay, what kind of account is this? And the reason I'm showing you this is from right here, you can start creating new accounts in your chart of accounts if you want to. Now, don't go crazy and adding accounts all the time to where your chart of accounts is 200 accounts long. Don't do that. But if this is an important expense that you're going to have all the time, let's go ahead and set it up. So it is an expense. What kind of expense is it? I'm going to put it under legal and professional, because it was a professional fee, this management consulting. And I've named it management consulting, and I can put a little description here. If it's a sub-account, let's say I wanted it to be a sub-account of legal and professional. I could set that up like this. And now this would kind of be under legal and professional, would kind of all flow up. But I don't really want that. I don't really love sub-accounts in my accounting. If I can avoid them, I do. So I'm going to click Save. And now I'm going to click Add. One transaction left. This is a deposit, so somebody paid me here. This is me selling something, and I'm going to come in here and put that this was a deposit from me. And if it was a deposit from me, is it really a sale? I said it was a sale earlier because most of the time whenever you receive money, it's a sale. But in this case, let's imagine that this was me putting money into the checking account so there's money in there. Kind of the first deposit ever. If it was a sale, you could leave it as sales here and click add. But because it's a deposit that I put in and I own the company, any money you put in the company is not a sale. Let me say that again. Money that you as the owner put in to the company is not a sale. It is capital. It is your money. It is an equity account. And so what I'm going to do, remember I've got two equity accounts. I've got retained earnings and I've got opening balance equity. Technically, opening balance equity is where this is supposed to go. I'm going to tell you that's what Intuit and QuickBooks wants you to do. However, I'm going to tell you to put it somewhere else. I'm going to tell you to put it in retained earnings. And you want to know why? Because I hate opening balance equity. Because it sits on your financial statements forever until you fold it into retained earnings. So there's another account that many accountants will tell you to put it to. It's called contributed capital. That's okay too, but eventually, I still believe contributed capital eventually gets folded into retained earnings as well, because you're going to be taking distributions from your company, and who's to say you're giving yourself back to capital versus the money that you've made in the business. So do yourself a favor. Some accountants may not like this, but do yourself a favor, put it to retained earnings and just keep things nice and clean. I'm going to click add here. All done. Now, transactions are done, and what else is cool? Matches. Let this be the first time your accounts match, and let it never get out of balance. The moment you get out of balance between these two things, sometimes there's a timing difference in QuickBooks where a transaction that you have has not been recorded on the in the transactions yet. It's kind of sitting in pending, and so for a day these may not match. But if these start not matching for more than a day, stop what you're doing and get it done right.